Peace to everybody. This is about R. Kelly charged with sexual crimes in Minnesota. Now, I know this is just going to keep getting worse with R. Kelly. First, it was Chicago, then it's New York City. Now we got Minnesota involved. And of course, here's the creepy mugshot of R. Kelly. R. Kelly has been charged with a sexual crime against an underage girl in Minneapolis in 2001, according to a press conference held in the city this afternoon. The allegation follows a total of 18 counts of serious sexual misconduct and other charges brought against the singer last month in Chicago and New York, among other charges. So this time R. Kelly got charged with a sexual crime against an underage girl in Minneapolis in 2001. So he's just really racking up all them charges that he's got all over the place. Charges here, charges there, and wherever else, of course, including Minneapolis, Minnesota. And of course, there's other charges that brought up against the singer last month in Chicago and New York, among other charges. Kelly is charged with 2 counts of engaging in prostitution with an individual under 18 years old and offering to hire for sexual purposes a person under 18. Hennepin County State's Attorney Mike Freeman said during a news conference, the victim, an autograph seeker, was paid $20 to remove her clothes and have sexual relations with the musician at his Minneapolis hotel, according to Paul Bloom at Fox 9 in the city. So now R. Kelly is charged with 2 counts of engaging in prostitution. So that's more charges on him. And of course, with an individual who was under 18 years old at the time, and was offering to hire for sexual purposes of a person under 18. Actually, it's against the law for real to be having this kind of mess. She is also saying, I guess, and of course, the singer, of course, the victim, an autograph seeker, was paid $20 to remove her clothes and have sexual relations with the musician. So the girl at the time when she was under 18, she was paid $20 to remove her clothes and have sexual relations with the musician at his Minneapolis hotel, according to Paul Bloom. Now, we don't know if R. Kelly does have a Minneapolis hotel there or not anymore, so it's kind of hard to tell what is going on over there. The victim was under 18, but at least 16 years old at the time, Freeman said, and specifically the incident involved dancing and sexual contact. He noted there were no sexual intercourse between Kelly and the victim. So if R. Kelly didn't have no intercourse with her, why would he pay her $200 to remove her clothes in that? I mean, dancing and sexual contact? That's disgusting. He should not be messing with girls that are under 18 years old. Period. Kelly's attorney Steve Greenberg tweeted in response, "New charges. R. Kelly, give me a break. This is beyond absurd." Well, Steve Greenberg is a propaganda elite. How about that? And of course, he would have to tweet it out on his Twitter page and say, "New charges at R. Kelly, give me a break. This is beyond absurd." Well, Steve Greenberg is beyond absurd. In answering questions that were inaudible on the live stream, Freeman said, "Some might say, aren't you piling on? He's got federal charges in New York, state charges in Cook County, and elsewhere. Frankly, Minnesota victims deserve their day in court, and that's why we're here. In my view, too many prosecutors are ignoring victims. This one doesn't." Oh, so you got one prosecutor that's not ignoring victims, allegedly. Okay. answering questions was that were inaudible on the live stream. Some might say, aren't you piling up or piling on? He's got federal charges in New York, Cook County, Illinois, of course, and now he's got charges in Minnesota. In response to another question, Freeman said, before we can charge a case, we have to have significant evidence that a crime has been committed. But we listen to victims and we believe she deserves her day in court. Alright, so Freeman said before we could charge a case, we have to have significant evidence. So they got to have evidence that it did happen. Of course, but instead they listen to the victims and we believe she deserves her day in court. So R. Kelly's just got charges everywhere and he's got to face them all, allegedly. In a question about whether the state's 3-year statute of limitation on the incident has expired, as no police report was filed in 2001, Freeman said, that doesn't bar the prosecution here. Because he left the state, the statute doesn't, and until he returns to the state. And there's no indication that he's been in Minnesota for a duration of 3 years, then we have a case. So the only way that R. Kelly would have to have any charges there if he's been in Minnesota for 3 years, which allegedly they don't have that evidence. And a question about whether the state's 3-year statute of limitation on an incident has expired. Now, there was no police was filed in 2001. And of course, this is what Freeman is saying. That doesn't bar the prosecution here, of course. Because he left the state, the statute doesn't end until the returns to the state, and I do believe R. Kelly did return to the state of Minnesota. It doesn't disturb me whatsoever that it may not go to trial, as long as he spends time for the crimes he's committed elsewhere, he continued, referring to the Chicago and New York charges against Kelly. I can't make sure of that unless I am at the table by charging this case. We are at the table. Alright, so they're at the table. He also said it doesn't disturb him whatsoever that it may not go to trial. So if it's not going to trial, then what? Of course, he's got to face other charges, of course, in Chicago and New York. So he's got to go for them charges. Kelly was hit last month with a total of 18 counts of serious sexual misconduct and other charges in Chicago and New York. He was denied bail on racketeering and sexual abuse charges at an arraignment hearing in Brooklyn federal court on Friday morning. He was ordered held without bond at a hearing last month in federal court in Chicago. The singer entered a not guilty plea in both cases. Kelly was charged with child pornography in 2002 after a videotape surfaced that purportedly showed him having sex with an underage girl. However, the girl in the video declined to testify and Kelly was acquitted in 2008. So, last month, R. Kelly was hit with a total of 18 counts of serious sexual misconduct and other charges, and they were in Chicago and New York City. Now, the one in New York City is racketeering and sexual abuse charges at an arraignment hearing at a Brooklyn federal court on Friday morning, so that was done already. He was ordered held without bond, so that means he can't leave jail at all. And of course, it was at a hearing last month in federal court in Chicago. So, Brooklyn, New York, I guess they're not going to let him out either. They're just going to keep him as well. R. Kelly pleaded not guilty in both cases, but we know that's a lie because he's part of the elite, and R. Kelly is just a manipulator. And of course, Kelly was charged with child pornography in 2002 after videotape surfaced, and he was acquitted in 2008, which I think is ridiculous because he bought his way out of being guilty. So that's what happened. He just bought his way out of it. He paid off for them not to send him to jail during that time. Leave your comments below. I am out.